KWOD 106.5, Little Girls from Oingo Boingo. And that's who's on the line right now. Danny Elfman, how you doing?
Hello.
All right, where are you calling from?
L.A.
All right, Danny. So nice to have you with us today.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
Yeah, and of course you have the new album coming out, Insanity, which is what, May 17th?
Yes, I believe that's true.
Okay. We'll talk more about that. But first, a lot of people are curious, what are you going by now? Is it Boingo now? Or is it Boingo for sure now? Or is it...
Well, yeah, I mean, because we switched labels, they asked, hey, you know, everybody just calls you Boingo, and you call yourselves Boingo. So you want to just call yourselves Boingo on this album? And we said, okay, sure. So, I mean, if you want to call us Oingo Boingo, it's fine. Oingo isn't officially on the album. We always did intend to cut the name in half if we survived past 10 years. And then if we survived another, then we would cut it in half again until eventually it just became Ngo. So we're on our way to that Ngo.
If someone walked into the store, it would still be under Oingo Boingo, right?
No, it would be under Boingo.
Okay.
There's no Oingo on this record.
Okay.
We're calling it an Oingo amputation. It had a little bit of gangrene. We had to cut it off.
You know, even though your last album was 4 years ago, you've done a lot of soundtrack stuff between the two albums. Do you ever get a vacation?
I haven't really had much of a vacation, no. Especially the last couple of years. I've been on a kind of a 2-year work spree, and I'm heading to a little time off this summer.
So, but you are going to tour, aren't you, this summer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
touring's almost a vacation for me, believe me.
Because, yeah, you put so much into your show. It must be just, you know, just a rush to do a show all the time.
Well, yeah, but I'm really looking forward to getting out on stage and working up a sweat.
Mm-hmm. Is this going to be like last time? I think you had extra musicians to kind of fill out the sound more. Are you going to do that again? Are you going to make it more like that, more instrumentation, more instruments?
Well, we have a new guitarist we're working with who's on the album, and so it'll certainly be the 5 and probably a keyboard, and whether there's more than that, I'm not sure. We'll be 6 or 7 on the road.
Your new album is really different. I heard it, an advance copy, like last night, and I definitely like it. Was there just a... Did you intentionally make it completely different than your other albums, or how did it come about?
Well, it was kind of strange because I'd written some songs, and we went in January '93 and started recording, and thought we had half the album done. Then I went off and got really gobbled up by Nightmare Before Christmas,
right? Which
kind of kept me under wraps until October. And then we went back in November and started listening to what we'd done to finish up the album, and we decided to throw away everything and start all over again. And we just started really having fun and improvising and going crazy, and we recorded 14 songs. And suddenly we realized we had more than enough. In fact, we couldn't fit it all on a CD because, you know, the songs ended up kind of being long, you know. Mm-hmm. And we just went in to have fun and not put any restrictions on ourselves. And it was great. It felt like a real band for a change, like improvising instead of what I normally would do, which is work everything up in advance and bring in demos.
Mm-hmm. So this album, it actually has actual demos on it. Is that true? That's what I heard.
Well, in the sense that we worked up very quickly a new batch of songs, and we went into the studio just to record them all in one day, just to see what they sounded like. Mm-hmm. And I think we laid down 6 tracks in a day, and 4 or 5 of those basic tracks actually ended up on the album, and which was great because we hardly knew the stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think it just helped it be a little fresher.
There's actually a song in there called Change that's like 16 minutes long, huh?
Yeah, I mean, after we finished all the other songs, I went back to Change, which was the only 3.5-minute song on the album, and then decided to experiment and have some fun and turn it into a study in elasticity to see how far we could take this little song and stretch it. Mm-hmm. And it stretched and stretched and stretched until we finally completely ran out of time. The record had to come out. And if we hadn't stopped, it would have been about 30 minutes long.
It could have been a double album, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's great when you just completely erase the boundaries, you know, that are around you and forget about the rules and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think, well, that's been characteristic in all your albums. And one of the things I've noticed that you cover a lot of people, places, and things that no one else has ever thought about in music. And, you know, like Elevator Man, Dead Man's Party, Gray Matter. Where do these ideas come from?
Oh, who knows? No, I'd be the last one to know.
Do you set out to do things that no one else has done before?
No, actually, whatever I set out to do, it usually turns into the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, for an example, this album, if you'd asked me a year ago what my intentions were in going and recording the new album, I would say, oh, it's going to be the simplest album we've ever recorded, guitar, bass, drums, really, really basic. We're returning to basics. So, of course, that album turns into, by the time we're done, the most complex layered album we've ever done with orchestra and the works. So whatever I say I'm going to do, it's going to be the opposite.
All right. And I'm curious, what's your favorite soundtrack that you've done?
That I've done?
Yeah.
Probably Edward Scissorhands.
All right. Yeah. Did that take a long time to put together, or what?
No, I mean, all film scores are about the same. You never really have a long time, with the exception of the Nightmare Before Christmas, which got spread out over 2.5 years. But usually films are on a very tight schedule, and so the whole art of being a film composer means being able to get your inspiration working on a daily basis, and for 12 hours a day, and you have to write so many minutes a day. It's very high pressure.
Right. Do you get to review the script, or is the movie already done usually, or how does that work?
Well, it varies. Sometimes, I'm brought in very early and I'll have the script, and then I'll see it, when there's a rough cut, and sometimes I'm brought in, the movie's almost finished.
Let me ask you about one more thing about Insanity, which is coming out May 17th. You mentioned it has orchestra.
I'm sorry?
You mentioned it has orchestra on it, which you've never done before on a Boingo album, right?
No, certainly. I've always tried to keep them far apart from each other. And I don't know why this time it all kind of mushed together. It just wanted to, and I couldn't find any reason to keep them apart.
And how did you decide to do the Beatles song, I Am The Walrus, on your new album?
We actually just started doing it on stage just as a fluke, just for fun. And so when we went in the studio, it was at the end of another session. We recorded another song. We just laid it down really quick just to have fun. I wasn't really sure if it was going to end up on the album, but we put it on,
Well, I like it a lot. It sounds real fun. I like the whole album. In fact, we're about to play your new song, Hey, off that album. What's the story behind the song Hey?
Oh, I don't know. It would take hours to explain. And then I still probably couldn't explain it.
Okay, well, the song probably speaks for itself then.
It'll have to.
All right, Danny. Well, I appreciate you calling in today, and we look forward to the new album and a tour later on.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Danny.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.